Hello, it's Mr. Rice, your remote narrator, and today I'm going to show you how to diagram some indirect objects in a sentence. So before we've already looked at how to identify a subject and verb phrase and modifiers like adjectives and adverbs, and then the last video I showed you how to identify a direct object. And the direct object, you take the verb and then you ask the question whom or what, and that gives you your direct object. So let's go ahead and take this sentence. Some schools provide students free lunches. And we're going to break down some of the stuff that we already know. So I'm going to start with the verb. What action's happening? Well, providing is my action. So I always want to start with that verb. I'm going to take provide. I'm going to go ahead and bring that down into this spot. Remember, just to the right of that center line is where you put your verb phrase. Then I'm going to work from the verb always to build the rest of the sentence. So I asked who or what plus the verb. Who or what provides? And schools is my answer. Schools provide. So I'm going to take schools and put that in my subject spot, which is to the left of that center bit. Now I'm going to see if there's a direct object. So that I've already got provide. Provide whom or what? Schools provide what? The answer to that is lunches. That's what they provide. Now, you might notice there is a noun here, students, and you might say, oh, students is the next noun. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the direct object spot. But you have to be very careful when you're reading the sentence that you're answering the correct question. Do schools provide students? Not really. The students go to the schools, but the schools aren't the ones that are providing those students. Those students, if anything, the parents are providing those students. So schools provide lunches, however. And so I'm going to take this and I'm going to add separation between my verb and my direct object, lunches. Now at this point, I'll go ahead and identify the adjectives so I can get them out of the way. Usually I wait until the very end after I've identified all the nouns to go after the modifiers, but for the sake of convenience, let's do those now. So we can ask the questions, how many, in this case, how many schools are there? Well, there's some. And your answer doesn't have to be specific. It can be vague like that. Some schools. And then I'm going to look over here at lunches because I'm asking the question, what kind of lunches are they? What kind? That's an adjective question. And they are free. That's what kind of lunches they are. Premium. And we'll pull that down there underneath lunches. And that leaves me with students. Now I've already filled in the subject and direct object spot. So students must be saying something else. And here's a question that I can ask to see if it's acting as my indirect object. I take the direct object, so you have to identify the direct object, plus the question to whom. And then my answer is my indirect object. So let's take that, lunches. And you can include the verb if you want, provide lunches. Provide lunches to whom? And, oh, they provide lunches to the students? That sure sounds like an answer to that question. So now, where does students go? As you can see down here, I've got kind of a wonky looking thing. But it's really just a combination of two lines. I have that downward line there, and then at the bottom I have a horizontal line, and that's where I want to place students. Now, you might ask, why is it underneath the word provide? Why did I decide to put it here and not, like, say, underneath lunches, since it's referring to the lunches? And that's because specifically it's answering the question where. Where are those lunches being provided? They are being provided to students. That is the direction that they are being given. And where is an adverb question. So it's where they're provided, not what kind of lunches. They're not two student lunches. And in fact, you can even think of it like there is a little imaginary to there that you would put right there. We'll go into more detail with this when we talk about prepositional phrases. Uh, you'll learn more about putting the prepositions on those lines and then filling the objects of those prepositions at the bottom. But for right now, just understand that that is answering the question where it's provided, and that's why we connect the entire thing under there. And that's also why we don't put students on that line, because students is actually the object of kind of an understood to right there. So that is how you diagram an indirect object. If you have any questions, please hit me in the comments with those, and I'll be happy to follow up with you about that. Thank you very much, and I'll look forward to the next one. Bye.
Where's my